Hello, everybody. My name is Manan. Again, welcome to my channel. Today, I have another guest with me all the way from Spain. This is Markus. Markus has been born and raised in Estonia. He has lived abroad for quite a few years, almost 10 years in the Netherlands. And for a year or so, he has been having regular expat meetups. In the past year, he has helped more than 300 expats meet each other through different events that he has organized. Um, in this podcast, I would just like to talk to Margus about his life growing up in Estonia, moving abroad, and especially his time when he came back and what prompted him to start this sort of initiative of helping expats meet up. And what has he learned in the process of doing all that. So, hello, welcome, Margus. Great to have you here.
Hey, Manan. Thanks for having me. Yeah.
So tell me, what are you doing right now? Where are you, and what do you do for work, and what are you up to these days?
Basically, when it comes to work, I'm mainly writing my thesis right now.
Mm-hmm.
I was studying in the Netherlands for 6 years and studying AI. And even though it's a very cool topic, very relevant today, I do hope we're not going to be, talking about coding as such, because that is the one aspect of AI that I kind of suck at.
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, yeah, I love it, and I'm right now, yeah, writing my thesis to get my degree finally. But other than that, I'm also, when it comes to work and actually making a living, I'm also on the side giving private math, doing private math tutoring through a really cool startup called Mentor Note, and yeah, it's been great, and
Mm-hmm.
it sort of allows me to yeah, I don't have to work like that much. It's not like a full time job, but when it comes to what you can earn, it's yeah, I think it's pretty reliable when it comes to that. But
Mm-hmm.
also, yeah, mhm.
Yeah, I mean, you talked a little bit about teaching. I mean, teaching is this something that just comes naturally to you, or do you really enjoy it, like teaching?
Yeah, I do. Honestly, I do. It was a bit of a surprise because the reason I got into it was because, well, I basically had a deal with my parents that if you can't graduate in the optimal time that it normally takes to graduate, then after that you're on your own, and which
Mm-hmm.
is completely, it's yeah, of course. And then I was like, okay, should I? Then I did a couple of job interviews, that sort of a thing, both in the Netherlands and in Estonia, and I was like, okay, like if I kept going, I could probably get a job, but my one stipulation for my first sort of a real job, not like just an internship, was that I wanted to be social, because I'm just not a person who is very. I can get miserable if I spend too much time in front of a computer, and I was like, okay, I want to do something like that. But then, like, I started just like, I learned about MentorNote and I started teaching. I just gave like a few lessons, and more it just started to seem that, okay, this is something that I could potentially be good at, and why not just keep going and see where it leads. And then eventually, yeah, I didn't really feel the need to have those job interviews anymore, because I was self-sufficient, and I just but also, yeah, it's I've always had this sort of a classic Estonian entrepreneurial spirit, I guess, and I just never saw myself being there for too long. Like even if
Mm-hmm.
I had a job that I kind of liked, I've had enough of just enough of ideas that I wanted to try. So I at some point came to a realization that, okay, it's smarter for me to do this, to not maybe like start and build a big career and then find some B2B sort of a problem and then solve that, as usually startups start. but it would be better for me to just study, do teaching, and then find my project that I actually want to do. That right now is this initiative, uh, and um, and yeah, just that's I. But I do feel now that I'm very comfortable with it, and that it's something I've been told that I actually might be good at. Which
Mhm.
yeah,
So I would like to go ahead and talk a little bit about you growing up in Estonia because, as we were talking previously, you were 19 years old when you left for the Netherlands. Is that correct?
after high school, actually, when I was 19, I first took a gap year because I took a gap year and I wasn't in the best place in a way. Like high school was great, and then most of my friends went to universities, and I sort of I yeah, it was like a September, October where I was like really, people were like starting their lives, and I was like, okay, what should I do? I always had this idea to go to gap year, but then it was like, it was a weird place. But then my parents were like, just kicked me out the door, like, dude, you told us that you're gonna take a gap year, and I was like, okay, fine, let's do it. And so I went to mainly South America and US for 5 months. So basically, I was in the eastern seaboard. I was sort of like first New York, then to Peru, then Colombia, Ecuador, and um, and then also Miami, and then back to New York or like Florida. And
Mhm.
since in total 5 months, and it was very life changing because before that I was certain that I was going to go to something to do with finance. I loved investing. I've been doing stock investing ever since I was in eighth grade, and I
Mhm.
like the adrenaline that you get out of it, and it was really interesting. But but then I talked to people, a lot of people while traveling, and I came to realization that I wanted to build something. And when it comes to finance, it's you have a movie like Margin Call where they basically say that we're not like really they bring this analogy that they're not like quite like building a bridge versus like helping people manage their money. And I came to a realization that even though it would be very much something that I would love to do, like just like socializing with people manage their money or something like that, I did want to like build something. And then I went to first industrial engineering to the Netherlands, did that, but that I didn't quite like. I wanted to go into like green energy sort of a thing and do something there, but I didn't really like it. The courses themselves. Then I came back to Estonia for 1 year, worked a bit, here and there, got some experience. I also did. I went to also IOF, which is basically like a Shark Tank in Estonia, and yeah, that was a cool experience. And then people in Shark Tank or at Shark Tank, just kept telling me like, hey, you should go to AI. Like, if that's one of your choices that you can do in the Netherlands, you should go there. And that really, I was hesitant because I knew that I would have to be extremely smart, but eventually I took the courage and went.
Mhm.
And yeah, pretty much.
So, I want you to tell me about growing up in Estonia all the time till you were 19, because I can see already from you that you're very extroverted, which is unusual for Estonia. So people
Mm.
are, let's say by default, not extroverted. So people are usually like to keep to themselves, but it seems to me, and I can also see that you are extroverted, like you like to be with people, that you like to talk to people. So how was it growing up in Estonia all the way up till 19, where you finally were took the gap year and went to Netherlands?
It was fun. Yeah, it was pretty. Yeah, it was pretty. It was eventful. It was. I would say. I was very fortunate because first of all, I had three big brothers who instantly sort of you can see what is coming in a way. You
Hmm.
can see what like how you should maybe behave as you get older and all that. And I was also very fortunate when it comes to schools. I went to the Rocca al Mare school, which is basically like an Estonian private school, and I got to know people like even right now in Spain. I'm with a friend who I met in first grade, and it's sort of like now, like 20 years, we're like, mulling over it. But it's, yeah, you get to meet people who you kind of know that you're going to remain friends with. And so, yeah, that was, I would definitely put my children into that school for those years, like, as we grow up. And then for eighth grade, I went to Tallinn Secondary Science School, which is like when it comes to results, that essentially the final exam results and everything else. Honestly, it's a very pretty prestigious but it was scary. It's I didn't get there like for my like intelligence, I would say. Like I got there simply because I really wanted, because my parents didn't push me, because I just went there and it was like, hey guys, like I'm here, deal with it, and I took a test, and yeah, they just liked a certain self-initiative in a way, because everyone else there was with parents. So already, if you want to get to a school and you go there on your own independently, then that's a huge factor already. So even though I probably didn't get the best results in the test, I yeah managed to get in, and eventually I managed to stay there thanks to this and that sort of. I'm getting to high school as well, and yeah, pretty much.
What do you mean by you were without parents and the other were with parents?
Basically, well, as a parent, you want to make sure that your child gets, the best education. So
Yep.
you really want to motivate them, like bring them to the test. My parents basically they weren't aware that I even like only once I got in, I told them that oh yeah, by the way guys,
Okay, okay.
I'm now in. And they were like, wait, what? Like what do you mean? Like in this school, like this the school for the actual smart children? And I was like, well, yeah, like, sorry, that just happened, and yeah, that's what happened. And but I basically, it was also like it was a 2009, I think, something like that, 2009, 2010, and I sort of felt some responsibility to do something about the whole recession sort of a thing, because I've always felt a certain responsibility when it comes to people around me, people I care about, and having to pay for a private school, I just like, even though they didn't say anything about it, they were willing to do it. I sort of I also felt that I should take some action, so that even if I'm not yet self-sufficient, I should at least do something. But yeah, growing up in Estonia, right? Um, it was I would say, like, when you're younger, then people are definitely more extroverts, if that's even a word, because you know, yeah, we just are. Like there comes some kind of a point where people sort of slightly just I don't know if it's about copying one's parents or what is it about, but for some reason just become more calm, I guess. But for me, that like never happened.
Mhm.
I'm still sort of in a way childish. I'm still, yeah, I don't know. It never happened for me quite, and it's yeah, yeah.
I know that like one of the things that I always tell to other foreigners as well that um, like babies and dogs are like hacks for socializing in Estonia. So either you have a baby going around or you have a dog, and that's like absolutely an icebreaker for you. And I can see that even with like Estonian babies, they're curious and extroverted, and like even children, like till like 4 or 5 at least, I think they're very like curious, and they look around and they're very curious about these things and talkative as well. But you're right. I think that there comes a certain time when I think it's more like a probably like a social, like getting when you start getting into the social circle and you sort of start to soak in what the normal social circle uh, thing is, and then you become a little bit more open towards your friends that you have, and then a close towards everything external. But that's something that I have seen at least.
And also, like, when it comes to adaptation, it comes out of necessity. It's sort of like what you've said also on your channel is that those that have been abroad come back to Estonia, and there's a stark difference. There's
Yeah.
you can see that from Dubai, and I absolutely yes, I absolutely have seen that, and because if you go when you go abroad, everyone is thrown into that cold water, and like it makes it easier because once you realize that everyone are in that water, that everyone's situation is the same, that like literally everyone is afraid around you. You know, you go to this first whatever meetings, networking thing, and everyone is in that same situation. That sort of allows you to, oh, okay, I'm not alone in this. Like this is like let's just hit up a conversation and see where it goes. But when you are in Estonia only, there is this thing where it just there isn't that much motivation. There isn't like that much necessity to go out there and like actually be open because like usually you get your friends from the first like day, hey, maybe kindergarten, maybe school, then
Yep.
college work. So, but for me, it's always been interesting how like so am I to understand correctly that there are only like 4 times in your life, maybe 5 times, where you like sort of like have to get in there and oh, now I have an opportunity to get some new friends. Now I have an opportunity to get some new friends, which is like it's kind of like interesting. Like why? Why do you have to get a new job only to have that opportunity? And that's where my sort of a meetup thing also comes from because it should be constant. There should be a constant where I can just like, hey, I'm kind of bored. Tonight might as well go out, have a beer with some people, or you're just like, oh, all my friends have children, so they have responsibilities. So what should I do? Like, should I get a new job and like then look for people there? No, they're be an ongoing thing.
I think we can dive into this a little bit later, but I want to know more about your experience abroad. So when you first went abroad, I think you mentioned already that you lived abroad in the US, South America, in the Netherlands as well. So I would like to know from you, what was it like when you started living abroad? How was it? Was there any cultural shocks? Was there any difference? Was there some things that within you that you had to change?
Mm-hmm.
And after that, I want you to tell me, how was it when you moved back to Estonia? What was the reverse cultural shock like?
Mm-hmm. Like that reverse culture. Yeah, it's I would say, well, the problem or the fortunate or unfortunate thing with me is that it's kind of like I don't ever get like fully culturally shocked by certain like situations that sometimes it's like a person goes abroad and like describes a situation that happened. I'm so sorry, Manan. I have to tell my friend that somebody's still happening. So I would say that so whenever I hear this, situations, I'm like that's something that happens. It's for me it's very rarely like shocking because I sort of enjoy those situations that you get to and that unpredictability. But okay, let me think like a biggest cultural shock. Maybe
Like anything unusual that stands out for you that you still remember that you felt was new to you or you
yeah,
didn't quite. I mean, it doesn't have to be negative or positive. It could be
right.
anything, something memorable. That's what I mean.
Yeah, I mean one was definitely you mentioned how safe Estonia is, and I've never been in a fight. It's sort of I don't know why, thank God, but like never happened. But then I went to Peru. First evening I landed, I was little like all right, Central City. Went to a hostel, which later turned out wasn't like the safest area, and I went to a grocery store with my headphones on, and it just like got smacked, just like out of nowhere, just like I passed by, let's say someone who needed money, I don't know how to call it, like I don't know, beggar, yeah, something like that,
Hmm.
and I was just like I was like okay, just went by. He didn't even like look at my face, and then like 10 seconds later, fuck, got a massive like hit, and yeah, slightly bleeding, something like that. But like he just went back to his place. It was like a nonchalant thing that it's just like sometimes
Wow.
gets an urge to do. But then I was like, at first you get the shock, it's adrenaline, like all that. You go to the store, you like, put your headphones away just in case to have a better sense of your area. And then yeah, I got back to the hostel, and like people, I told it to people, and like half were shocked, and then the other half was just like, yeah, that happens. But then I was like, it really made you aware that, oh, okay, I'm gonna have to be more vigilant while
Hmm.
I'm there.
Hmm.
So thank God it happened, because like maybe otherwise I would have been, I don't know, full on robbed, killed, something like that, and that would have sucked. And
Hmm.
secondly, okay, that was one. Then so there's yeah, in Estonia we the security, the sense of security we have is quite amazing. Like that's something that really, yeah. But also, okay, what else? Okay, then I went to this there, that there. Hmm. Could you maybe bring a good example out of your own life? Maybe like either about Estonia or something else. Maybe that will like, spark something in my mind. I'm pretty sure there's something. But then like,
Um, I mean, you're asking me if I have any example?
yeah, maybe something that you haven't told anyone about on the channel.
It's kind of difficult to say because I have like more than 150 videos, so I've talked a lot. But what is it? Something that I haven't talked about? Well, one cultural shock, or I mean, I've talked about these a lot, but one of the things that sort of wasn't clear to me was first time when I went to the locker rooms uh, in the university. So there is this place where you have to put your locker rooms, your thing, and in my mind, because I had watched movies and all that, so I thought that these lockers are like they belong to you, like you can keep the key with you, and then you can all like do that. And I just kept my stuff there, and turned out that it wasn't the truth. So second day, I got like all my stuff thrown in a bag, and then I opened the locker, and it was something like there is a sticky note written there that said, "Next time we will throw all your stuff away." And I didn't know. I had no idea that you had to, uh, like you have to use the locker when you're there, and then you have to give it back when
But you
you
had like
when you're not.
fitness to a gym
Yeah,
and
yeah, 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 to a gym exactly.
overnight, essentially.
So that
Uh,
was like a something like a little wake up for me because yeah, I had my information from movies, which is not always accurate. So
I wish. But like that must kind of suck. I would love to keep my things there overnight, and it's sort of like, yeah, very often it happens where sort of like, you gotta keep your stuff somewhere. Okay, maybe yeah, something to do, something like that. Um, but one thing is definitely when it comes to comparing Netherlands to Estonia, that if we were to talk about like let's say gym culture, something like that. Like in Estonia, it's quite often where it's sort of like everyone is so dispersed, like there's so much room in the gym that you're
hmm
sort of like, and in the Netherlands, as you know, like everything's super dense. Like the people versus the area is like off the charts. And so it's normal to just like do your thing at your place, occupy like, 2, 3 square meters. That's it.
hmm
Like in Estonia, like a couple of times, like there has been like, I walk from like, there's like a lot of room, but then like I have my place, as in the Netherlands, and then someone like walks, back and forth, and they like get angry at me for being in my one place. And I'm
hmm
like freaking, I'm literally here. And it's sort of a thing that, but they often come, up those kind of like, situations because we don't appreciate certain things we have. It's like having yeah, like having a lot of room or having this or that, and it very often like you can see that yeah, there's a correlation between people who haven't perhaps traveled as much, and they think that, oh, this is a thing everywhere, and this is like a normal thing to, let's say, have that much space in a gym, and therefore like if someone is on my way and they like wouldn't leave, then I have a right to express that. And it's like one example. But also like,
Um, I think that it probably might have to do something with personal space as well. The idea of personal space in Estonia versus the personal space, for example, maybe in Netherlands, because that is, I think, a very important factor that everybody needs to understand also when they are in Estonia. And I've also seen it in the gym as well. Like when you're in a certain place, that it's like an invisible, you have your own personal space, and everybody sort of respects that and walks or works around that. So that's something that's definitely.
But also, yeah, one thing you mentioned on one of the videos was that when you have a public transport thing and you have people being super jovial, and that was, I think, in German, right? And it's like that. This like never happens in Estonia. Like even like driving with a public transport that I do like every day when I'm in Estonia. It's just like I don't know. I like it. It's I get to read there. It's a communal experience and it's free. So why not? But that like never happens in Estonia. We're like outside and like super jovial, and that is something that I think I really like that when being abroad. And also when it comes to culture shock. Oh, okay, I know. Um, yeah, I'm the extrovert thing was definitely a shock. That like the fact that when I was in the US, that I was spoken to by totally like Americans who are obviously super successful, ambitious, not like drunk on a Friday night or something like that, and just strike up a conversation. Like that was for me like the best thing ever because like I in 1 month that I was there, I got spoken to by random people more than rest of my time in Estonia, and like I was like this that, and that like happened like let's say you have like 40s family in their 40s, me in a Starbucks with a like a 5 month beard, and they ask for a background like whoa what's your story, you look like a they didn't say that, but obviously I was looking like a homeless person, and they just wanted to see what's up and something like that, or me just reading, and that was like Miami Beach, sort of a very that sort of an area where like obviously they had no point in talking to me. They had no like agenda, and yet they did, and I think that was cool. Or also in New York. Oh my God! Oh, sorry. Or in New York, you had like a chemist, PhD, like who's like developing this super high tech thing. Just sparked up a conversation because I was reading Orwell's 1984, and just out of nowhere, just like that's the coolest thing. I think that is something that really, not only in Estonia but also in Europe, we should definitely like have more because like we have so many different nationalities, so much like colorful stuff going on, but then like we for some reason don't use it in a way, and I actually think that the reason for the success that the U.S. really has comes from that. That is actually my belief that like sure they're motivated and ambitious and all that, but the fact that as an employee there you have something that sorry, real sorry guys, should I go out? Yeah, real sorry. We have someone. Anyways, real sorry, mama. The anyways, so the thing is that that aspect is something that you can't buy. That American, that sort of a thing that you can go there and really like integrate with the society. Sure, we very often call it shallow and all that, but it's still there. That you can literally go and like do this sort of a salesman-y networking sort of a thing that like, and that is a thing that you can't buy. So why would I want to go work there? Is literally like that aspect. Like, sure, it'd be cool to see places and live in America, like and the nature and whatnot. But that is not something that you can't replicate in Europe. So I really do believe that if there comes a time due to, let's say, metaverse, social media, and whatnot, where perhaps the next generations of America kind of like lose that for some reason, that it's just like they don't that much train their let's say vocal cords, then there's a high chance like Americans like might lose their edge when it comes to attracting talent. And I do really do believe that that is something that I would also like to have an effect on. That Estonians, Europeans, that we can sort of attract talent because of that as well, for that openness in the future. And yeah, that is something that I would like to do, definitely. But yeah,
Um, so
even sorry.
I'd like to move ahead and then talk about you coming back. So so you lived abroad for almost 10 years or 9 years?
Yeah, 9 years.
And then you came back to Estonia. So what made you come back, and how was the experience of coming back to Estonia?
Well, well, first of all, it was definitely the pandemic. Like I was, the everything locked down on March 16th, and like I flew home the day before because like my parents were just like, dude, you're probably gonna stay there for the next 2 years if you don't fly back home now. And I was like, all right, fair enough. And flew back home, and yeah, then basically stayed in Estonia for yeah, just doing online studying online, and but I was also but it was also really good timing because for me, having been in the Netherlands for 4 or 5 years, like I'm not a kind of a person who would stay in one place for a long time, and it's just not in my nature. It's just like there is
Mm-hmm.
something that wants me to keep going, and it's sort of I don't want to say that I like get bored because the place like the Netherlands can be very interesting, but but yeah, it's just like so it was good. It was really good timing also, and also when it comes to saving up money, not having to pay rent there, having to just like leave with my parents for a bit. That was great, and I got to spend time with them. So I didn't see any reason to not come back either, and it was definitely a good call because college there, while during the pandemic, it was terrible. There was apparently
Mm-hmm.
no social life whatsoever. And then I was in Estonia. Then I started the teaching thing, and that was also the optimal time, sort of like the 4 years. You get to study for 4 years, and then you have to sort of do your own thing and get by on your own. And I was like, yeah, and I'll guess I'll do it in Estonia. And and then yeah, it went by real fast. I think like everyone knows that like the pandemic time, it just like went by really fast. It was almost like non-existent. And then yeah, came the time where I started thinking about doing some kind of a. I just always I did want to help solve the whole belonging problem because already back in college, like even though in Estonia I did want to, the main point was to just start talking to internationals and start it was I always wanted to do that, and I was really missing that about the college experience. So many people from so many different backgrounds, but also what I was really what we did before the pandemic with AI with other AI students was that every month we would get together, and the month before we would decide on a topic like self-driving cars, Neuralink, you name it. And for a month, we would do research. We would just like gobble together all the research into one Google Doc, and then for like solid 6 hours, we would just like talk about it. And it was amazing. It was just like offline Reddit, something like that, and it was super productive. You get to learn about people, what's their personal opinions on this and that, on this or that. Sorry, on this or that, and also we got like people from other backgrounds, so like philosophy, law, all that, and and I wanted to replicate something like that in Estonia as well. So like even though like at first I was my main focus was just like, hey, let's get people together, see how it is to live in Estonia, and do that. Then eventually I was like, hey, maybe there is something I could do with that sort of an offline Reddit concept, and and yeah, like, but also like the funny thing is that um, yeah, the funny thing is like when I told to my parents, friends about this sort of a thing that I would like to start doing, it was sort of like, it's a cool thing, absolutely. But it wasn't like, everyone was like, why are you doing this or this or that? It was pretty like, it was just this neutral sort of a thing. So that one was for me very, very surprising. Like I always thought that it would either be great. positive reaction or negative reaction. But it's just like, really like, yeah, just, do your thing, see how it goes. But, it's cool to see that by now we have actually brought in Estonian local, friends as well. Even I've had like, house parties with like, mainly internationals, like 40, 50, something like that. And this is a very cool environment where to bring Estonian friends and have them, mingle in that sort of environment. And yeah, yeah. Sorry, I totally drifted. With the
Hmm.
time.
But yeah, taking that, I think we can move ahead and talk to you about specifically about the meetups that you started. Um, what do you do exactly? And yeah, just describe what you do right now with the meetups. As we mentioned, that it's been almost a year since you've been doing that.
Basically, right now, what I do is that I I'm trying to set it up in a way that I mean the thing is called daily meetups, which means that we want to have a meetup happen every day, not like hey like sporadically every now and then. And that would allow us to have it be so that every Monday at the same place, at the same time, there's a board game night. Every
Mm-hmm.
Tuesday at the same time, the same place, there's like deeper conversations. We take a topic that is like a conversation starter, and we just riff on it. And the conversation goes like everywhere, so that every day would have something going on, and that it would be sort of this constant community sort of thing, which means that you know for a fact that those guys like this meetup thing is happening on that day every time at that place, and whenever you get the urge you can always like just go there. And so this is right now what I'm doing, and specifically what we're doing right now is to find, we call just people who help us do this thing, moderators. So every Monday has the same two moderators. Every Tuesday has the same couple moderators. And being a moderator is not like you have to like moderate and like do something and all that. But you're just there as like a linchpin. We'll get people together, make sure that everyone gets around the table, and that's pretty much it. Like there is no like
Mm-hmm.
responsibility. We're trying to find people who would be willing to we can rely on to be there every week. And this is right now like the stage we're in. And the cool part is that at first I thought that okay, like maybe I asked someone, see that they're a cool person, could like keep it up. I thought that it would be like very tiring. That at some point they would be like a couple of weeks goes by and they see this like as a job. But the effect has been like completely different. Like the whole board game night, every Monday, I didn't even basically like start it. It was just like, a couple of friends, thank God they had kept it up for so long. Like, thank you. They just started it, and now it's been going, what, for like 30, 35 weeks or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I have been barely involved. Like, I just buy the board games and, finance the thing, to some extent, and that's about it. And I hope the same thing happens with all days, that it becomes this thing where it's a bit of a thing where, hey, I'm feeling a bit lazy tonight. Like, should I cancel? Should I, something like that? And it gets you at the door. It sort of gets you at the door, and you really like you have this urge to just go and do it. And trust me, it's like that is very often what you need to sort of not have this sort of a thing where hey, I'm going to stay in on the couch and watch Netflix or something like that, because when you have that motivation to get out the door, this is what like sort of keeps you going. This is what
Mm-hmm.
keeps you from feeling you know I don't want to say loneliness, but solitude and all that.
Hmm.
And that's why like being a moderator, I've been told I didn't like really pick that aspect at all, but that's why like being a moderator, I've been told is like really just invigorating. And that's why I really hope that there's going to be more people who are going to be like hey, I like doing this thing, I like singing karaoke, I like playing football every week. And if you can tell me that hey, you would like to be there once a week, and then my responsibility will be to get the people there. And the cool part is also that that the meetups are generally small. Like board game nights, sure. We've had like 56 people, I think was the record, but usually it's like 30 plus. But usually they are small, which means that like with bigger meetups, events, what happens is that you, you know, you are kind of hesitant to go there on your own. Like, let's say
Mm-hmm.
we always like want to ask a friend and hey, let's go together. Like, I don't know what the whole thing is, but with the smaller ones, the cool thing is that just go there, take a seat, and you will find that is your group, and you will find, and especially because you're all connected by this one thing that you all like to do or a topic you all like to talk about, and you already know like this puts us on the same plane in a way. And so you no longer have that fear of going to a big meetup and then just sort of a networking event sort of thing where you're trying to find someone to talk to. And at the same time, like it's not like on, let's say, Tinder, which basically means that with Tinder you have to work hard to get some sort of a thing happen. You really like have to put time into it to like get together with that one person. So in our case, it's like completely, you don't have to organize anything. You just know this thing is happening, and it's like it's comfortable in that you can just go there, and you also have the moderators who make sure that everyone there sort of feels included. And yeah, that is pretty much our sort of the stage we are in at the moment. And that is honestly that is the reason why I do the smaller things in particular, and also they're free, just to say. Yeah.
So, can you tell me a little bit about what kind of meetups you have? I mean, you already mentioned that you have board game nights. That's one thing, but what other types of events do you have right now?
We have had karaoke's. Right now, not much karaoke because like that's there are certain meetups that are just like someone comes to me, hey, I would like to do this thing, and then it happens like a few times, but then it like they get busy, they get a job, whatever happens, and but we've had karaoke's. Then we've gone to the cinema quite a lot, just like hey, let's go see this movie and get a beer later and talk. Then we've had now in the summer we also want to do like outside sort of a thing. One we have coming up on the weekend of 5th and 6th of August, where we go near Otepää, so southern Estonia, where we basically just take a country home and rent a country home and just chill there over the weekend. And it's sort of so I want to do a lot of those things in the second half of the summer. We're probably going to do skydiving. We're probably going to do like canoeing, and yeah, just like outside stuff. So this is like coming up. But also, yeah, paintball was really cool. But like over a week, every Friday we are going out for drinks, and every so that's like in one place, beer garden every Friday, and then on Saturdays, just like this is sort of on Saturdays usually we do like bowling, pool, something like that, and in the summer it's cool that they just offered me, hey, you can get like 30% down during the summer because obviously the demand isn't that high,
Hmm.
so that's always a good thing to have. And right now that's it. Right now we have like four every week, but we really want to fill up all seven. And also in August, we're also gonna do lunches because back in November I did lunches. I literally did every day like lunch and then some evening program, and it was pretty tiring. It's pretty tiring. But what I learned was that a lot of tourists actually really enjoy lunches because like usually people are working or some other reason, but tourists we had a couple of people who literally like they came on Monday to lunch, and then they just joined us every other day. So like literally
Hmm.
the whole time they were there. That was really cool. So we're gonna
Hmm.
do sort of slightly invite in tourists as well, and yeah, pretty much.
So, I mean, you've been doing it for almost a year now, right? So, what has been the most challenging aspects of doing all that, organizing all that, administrating all that?
Mm-hmm. Hmm. I would say, hmm, good question. Good question. I would say perhaps definitely like the moderator aspect is one because you always want to have someone because for me that's to be going to a meetup every day that can for me be at some point you just get worn off. There's a reason why those meetup.com organizers very often just revolve. Like, one month
Hmm.
has like five co-organizers simply because it's a bit too much for like one person. But I would say like that aside, I would say that getting in, perhaps yeah, bringing in like new people because like we are really glad that there is a retention that the same people come back. Like even if like there's like a 3 month like a break, like an interval where yeah, a couple people go away, find their own friends. They usually come back at some point because like because we are living at a very asynchronous lives and we are living like especially when it comes to internationals, people are leaving Estonia. Someone, gets a new job where he's no longer available on that day, not available on that day. So relationships also constantly have to be revolving, and you always have to be open to go out and like find new people to hang out with. Finding new people. I think like because very often we see that like we see the same people coming back and it's very cool and also like finding people who are not so much like freelancers nomads that I would say are make up quite a lot of our community but also just like yeah just people working at like the best startups and so even though the startups have great programs I think it would be really cool if yeah, in addition to having your coworkers as your friends, you also like see what else is out there in a way. And
Hmm.
also, yeah, but also like let me think, yeah, like difficult parts. I mean, one is definitely, that is like the classic meetup.com problem or like any social networking, startups that just might like, sort of be initiated that are initiated is definitely the monetization aspects. And if you have to give out your own money, which for me is like totally fine. Like if I give out 100, 200 every month, like on average, it's or a couple hundred, like that's totally fine. It's not a problem. But if you really want to scale and offer that to more and more people, then at some point, yeah. And with the moderators as well, like I would love to be the person who says that, hey, for the fact that for you being a reliable moderator there to welcome people, I am totally willing to, pay for your drinks, food, all that. And if you want to scale that sort of a concept, then at some point you just have to come up with some kind of a way. But for me, I have always been adamant. I will never want to ask money from participants, like ever. Like this, I really do think that socializing is it's a basic human right. And I just like with water, electricity, I want to offer that for practically free. And sure you have to pay for drinks and whatnot, but I would say with those things, the scaling and monetization aspect is definitely the biggest crux. But
Um,
yeah,
y- yeah, I think it's a very good point that you raised about monetization because it's also very important as well, right? Like, I think there is a time when you realize that your actual time is very important, right? And you are giving away your time. Obviously, in your case, you are getting something in return as well. Like it's the feeling of socializing, it's the feeling of belonging, it's a feeling of being the person who is creating this movement, right? That people are able to socialize because it's obviously a huge problem, especially in the expat circles. Like it's like the biggest problem that anybody in Estonia or when coming to Estonia faces. So, I mean, you're definitely are like tackling a very, very problem as well. But then again, I think as the time passes, I think monetization or something will sort of become like a more and more bigger question, because obviously you have to start thinking of, okay, how much is it that I'm putting in that is worth, and if you're able to sustain it or not. I mean, a year is a really good time. That, I mean, nobody can do anything if they don't enjoy it for a year.
Mm-hmm.
But I still think that this will be a question that you will have to think more in detail, like how do you see this model going forward as well. I mean, there are different solutions to that as well. Obviously, there is like people can give whatever they want, it's absolutely free. And or it can be other different things too. But I really think that that's a overall, I think it's a really good initiative, because it's very, it's very great to see that you are like doing it for the thing's fun sake. Like it's purely fun and connection and helping other people connect. That is the most important thing.
But at the same time, like I can't say that like I haven't had a plan, like to that like if it were to somewhat blow up, but if I see a necessity, that I haven't had a plan for some kind of a model that would, because there are a lot of problems when it comes to these smaller scale meetups.
Hmm.
Main one is that hey, you might have 10 RSVPs, but 10 people are like, yeah, let's go, but eventually you get there, it's like 5 people. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
for other attendees because they can never be sure how many will be there. That's a massive problem for the venue, restaurant, bar with whom you have to say,
Exactly.
hey, I want 10 seats, and then you have five, seats available. And if it's a really good place, then they would not like that.
Yeah.
They would have those 5 seats filled otherwise.
Yeah.
So I can't say that I haven't had an idea to solve all those problems in one go. Like that would sure require some kind of a complementary platform that we
Hmm.
have discussed with our members because like we have a lot of developers in Estonia. Like I
Hmm.
would say 80% of people, like okay, not 80, but a lot of people, and come here with a job offer. So it has been really great. Really nice to see that people are willing to see that okay, there's a problem here. If you need help solving this thing, then I could be of help. And I really that's the that's the cool part about working with internationals that who can feel that problem. And I've actually put
Hmm.
my potential platform that would be complementary to Meetup.com. uh, I have pitched this thing, this model that actually, yeah, could solve the whole thing. Like bring all the people there while not taking money from any of the participants. And
Hmm.
I now what I'm actually doing right now, also, I want to see if something maybe like that exists already
Hmm.
elsewhere. So right now I'm in Spain, but I was in Amsterdam, in the Netherlands with school stuff. Now I'm going to go to Paris and then London because I'm meeting up with Meetup.com organizers, and I want to see if something like that already exists, and in general, like what's the environment there? Because eventually, if I could have the initiative set up in Estonia, there's no reason why I couldn't at some point go elsewhere as well, where I see the need for such a thing. And
Hmm.
like I said, I'm not the one to stay in one place for too long. Sure, absolutely, I love Estonia. A couple of years here, great. But at some point, I'm gonna see what else is out there. But so I can tell you that I definitely want to before starting like I am kind of a person who likes having some sort of a plan that definitely will be modified, but yeah, definitely. But what
Um,
yeah. Mhm.
okay, we're nearing the end of the conversation. So I would like to, if you have any stories or uh, anything you can share about the meetups that you have done so far, any interesting testimonials or feedback, or stories, or somebody who you thought was very shy, or like the change that you have seen in people? Any stories that you can share?
Yeah, definitely. Well, first thing is definitely that why those like smaller ones work, and why it's just good to have. Well, one thing is definitely that once you have this one meetup going, instead of like having several many tables, then you kind of want to stay there and really put in an effort. So that has always helped, while we have, well, I'm trying to be the sort of the person who, make sure that everyone is included, and want to make sure that it's a very like, chill, sort of a jovial, jokey sort of an environment, which is, very much necessary. At some point, someone who has been rather quiet for 1 2 hours, at some point they really, and this is the feedback that I've gotten, feel that oh, okay, like there is no one is having like an agenda, no one is having like a political thing that they want to drive, like no one is trying to sell you on something, which very often like on meetup.com does happen, like in other countries apparently. Then it's just like, hey, these are people like me, and I can open up. And even more so, this thing happens with the topic stuff. Like eventually, like when you're talking about AR, VR, that a lot of people are very interested in, but there are often people who don't maybe want to, tell us about their, let's say, I don't want to say extremist views, but maybe there's some view that is like out there. Then
Hmm.
at some point they will really understand that, oh my god, like this is my chance, like to talk about this thing in this new environment, a thing that I used to talk about on Reddit or Discord or anywhere online. I can now actually do this. And once, like, it's been great to see people like open up and then just keep going, like almost like a monologue, almost like at first, but then at some point there's like someone else has a complete opposite view, and then they just like go back and forth in a way that the rest of us are like listening to like a live podcast for like a half an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And this really has happened. And also, what has happened is that um, what really differentiates it from places, yeah, like Tinder, for instance, is that sure you might be introvert, slightly shyer, something like that. You can still you put your back into it. You can get a date on Tinder, but once you go there, no one can guarantee that you actually like the person that you hit it off. So what in our case, what has happened a lot is that if you have 10 people, then there is a pretty high chance that once you actually, at some point during the evening, you actually get to talking to someone one on one. And that is actually the greatest sort of a result that I can have, is that if I see that some, a couple people are like hitting it off, maybe even freaking, hooking up, or, stuff like that. And, it's known to happen. And it's sort of, that is for me the best validation there is. And, but yeah, very, very often, like, I like groups, like I'm that kind of person. Very often people are like, in the group at first, they're rather quiet, but at some point they're like, oh, like this one person really like, he talks about this that I have a strong opinion on. So I'm going to make sure I'm going to go and talk to them, because now I know they're into this thing. And so that has happened a lot. And that is like the best feeling ever. If I like later on realize that like they have taken some kind of an Instagram photo together, or like, let us know that thank you so much for this evening. And so yeah, that happens a lot. But also, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point here, because one of the things that I mean, I've talked about this topic as well, especially with respect to dating, and one of the, well, controversial opinions that I had was that I recommended people to not use online dating, like not use Tinder or not use any online apps.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason for me was that, but what I suggested on the other hand is exactly what you're doing. Like it's like go in person, meet people, do something together. Like I highly suggested or recommended people to have dance classes together, or improv classes, or uh, anything that where you're learning something, maybe art classes or just meetups, as you said. Do something together,
Yeah.
because then you get to see the actual person. And the best part of that is that once you do that, you start working on yourself in reality rather than working on your virtual image. Because to get good at Tinder, what do you need to do? You just need to take good pictures, maybe get good at Photoshop or something. But that's what you need to do. You need to just stick there and spend time and hours and energy just doing that. And that ultimately has no real benefit for your life. I mean, obviously, if you meet somebody, then that's another thing. But the activity of finding that person is not, let's say, rewarding in itself. It's just not making your life any better. But if you do things like that, like you get the added benefit of improving your life at the same time. Like, so let's say you are learning dancing, right? Through dancing, you get to meet somebody else. Or you go to the meetups and you don't only just get to meet the other people, but you also get to overcome your anxiety, your lack of confidence, your lack of ability to speak by yourself. Just the act of doing is improving your life. So even if you don't find that person, then this time or this effort is not ruined. And that is what I mean by when, especially for guys, because uh, we have a lot of energy. We are very competitive, especially with ourselves. And it's very important for us to go ahead. So we have to be very careful where we spend our energy. And if it goes into online dating and these things, that's the problem that I feel, that the activity in itself is not productive. It's not rewarding. And that is why I highly recommend expats and others and people to not go for online. I mean, you can always do that, but don't expect anything from it. Don't put energy into that. Like, that's what I mean. Put energy into productive endeavors that have good returns. And that is where I think that you're doing a really great job. And you're absolutely right that having or seeing people who are genuinely like connect to each other after the meetup, that is like the true reward for whatever that that you're doing.
That actually does remind me, like, one problem that definitely still persists is, yeah, getting Estonians involved. Because, like, very often
Mm-hmm.
it's been like, guys from abroad would ask me, like, hey, how do you go out with Estonian women? And it's sort of like, my main answer is always just, like you said, do an activity, all that sort of thing.
Mm.
And that's why for me, it's very interesting. That is actually, yeah, the main problem, like getting locals involved. And
Mm.
my strategy, or not strategy, it's like, hey, just let's give it a shot. Sort of a thing has been, with those topics, that sort of an offline Reddit concept that it's a thing that you can't really, that a lot of, like, let's say you're into, AR, VR, want to talk about that, not a very specific thing, but kind of, your friends might not want to talk about it, like,
Mm.
existing Estonian friends. So you kind of like, that's why it's in this added sort of a thing where you can go to, and then maybe you will find someone who is from abroad. You will find your, future spouse, and that'd be great, because that's sort of a topic based, very specific, some fairly specific topic that can really bring together people who might hit it off in a way that they might become something more in the future. Because for me as
Mm.
well, like, I love movies, but amongst my student friends, I'm always the guy who knows most about movies. So I would love to be, challenged in that sort of a way where I get to just do that, and it would be great if at some point there's someone from abroad, a girl that I would like hit it off with, and it would be great, because that's already a link between two people. Because, yeah, on Tinder, like, the profiles are way too vague. They just like, hey, you're a dog lover, you like to travel, you like
Yeah,
to read books. Everyone does. Everyone. But
everyone does that. Yeah.
there is no way to, like, differentiate.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that I also tell other people, uh, is that usually when you ask Estonian women or Estonian guys who are with Estonian women or any other guys, like 90% of the time, they either meet through their mutual friends or they either meet through work. Like, it's very rare to find any other way that Estonian women generally meet with other guys.
Right.
So what I recommend to guys is that, uh, don't like specifically go or like ask for like how do I meet Estonian women, because that's like hard mode. Like that's not easy thing to do. Your best starting point is to build skills within you, like extroversion, the ability to talk, having confidence, all these skills that you are able to express yourself. And the way you do that is by meeting people who are in, or meeting women who are in similar places you are, like, for example, expats. And that is where you can start from. And that is because I think that uh, it's not that easy. Like meeting with Estonian women, I mean, they're extremely confident. They're extremely they're I think they really really know who they are, what they do. Uh, very very self-reliant, confident, and at least in my experience, what I have seen, that the guy has to be very very like have very high conscientiousness and ability to be able to hold up with them. So that's kind of that's what, at least what my experience has been. And again, what you do, I think in this case, one aspect is, of course, doing specific activities which could relate more towards that. For example, I always say dancing. Like, dancing is something that many people tend to learn. You will see people from many different nationalities there, Estonians, Estonian Russians, and others as well. And then yeah, it's not that easy because, as you mentioned in the beginning as well, Estonians as a whole, they have their whole social circle pretty tight from a very long time. So they have their own friends, girlfriends that they have been like in their social circle for a long time. So
And
I
like
don't.
bringing in
It's
someone,
very difficult to get into that. Yeah.
yeah, and like bringing in someone new and like who might be very different. You might like the person, but like it could be a scary proposition, right? If you like
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
you like acknowledge that, oh, that person's actually very different to the people in the group, then you're sort of like, okay, like how should I approach
Yeah.
this sort of a thing? But yeah, one thing is like, yeah, definitely that Estonians, it would be cool if we in a way would be, and trust me, like we are very much on our way to like being more open and like being,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
I've seen that. Yeah.
yeah, like we gotta do that sort of a thing a bit faster in a way, because like it's very, if you want to integrate with the Western world, then like in a way, like our whole, maintaining our way of life, like only having been free only 30 years, it's important to do it like as fast as possible. And like
Mm-hmm.
this is predicated on us, opening ourselves up to the rest of the world, not like,
Yeah.
clamping down, like closing off. It's just like, yeah, we just got to do it. Like on your personal level, this is how you can help maintain Estonians' freedom, essentially, because like
Yeah.
better our reputation amongst the everyman who comes to Estonia and then leaves, like let's say a couple of months later, that can have a huge effect because they are the ones choosing, electing the politicians that want to support our sovereignty. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like if you don't do that, then there's a that's, in my opinion, yeah, that sort of has to be on a personal level one of the priorities. You want to do that, and like
Yeah.
you also talked about a lot about issues we have, that there might be Estonians who don't want internationals here, and yeah, it's a I always ask, like, if you don't like internationals and you tell them that, what is your objective? Like, what are you trying? What are you hoping to gain by that? And I would actually like to, ask, literally, yeah, face to face, like, what's the deal? And if they can give me a reasoned answer, then I'll take it into account because I'm very much someone who, it's very easy for me to sympathize with people. It's sort of, I think that's
Mm-hmm.
very easy for me to see someone who has maybe completely different views, completely different background, all that. My first question is always like, why? Like sort of like, hey, you believe that? Why? What's your childhood experience? Where do you come from? that is for me like the most interesting part, because that's what
Hmm.
I like movies, because you have so many different characters with different backgrounds, and they always go like deep. 2 hours, you just go deep into that character, and I'd like to, that's what I love to do. That's why I love those topic-based discussions as well. That once we have like stoicism, we have like stoicism as a topic, and it was just great. Like having like us go for like half an hour. We see two people go, different sides, and you learn so much more about people than just being like learning their name, getting to know their name,
Hmm.
personality, stuff that you could essentially look for on the internet. I care about other stuff. I care about stuff that you can't find on the internet, and it's just like, yeah, what do you think about this deep topic? And that is, I do believe that Estonians, we can, like, around those like deeper topics. I think there is something there simply because, I mean, you must be kind of curious, like what like a, yeah, like Pakistani might think about, like
Yeah.
this geopolitical aspect, some kind of a new news that came out on like Economist and The Economist, and about maybe like, yeah, Pakistan. You'd be like, oh, I want to go to that meetup because I want to know what this or that person might think of that. And yeah, we gotta see. We gotta see where it goes.
Yeah. I mean, I totally agree with, or I totally get what you mean when you say that it has to be a little bit faster, because I think that one of the things that really prompted me to start talking about this and also even make my YouTube channel is because I saw a very distinct difference between what is portrayed about Estonia through marketing and what is Estonia in reality as well. Like Estonia is portrayed on the marketing side like it's the place where you go work in Estonia, you go settle in Estonia, you go study in Estonia, and then when you arrive here, it's like the third, fourth, fifth month where you are, like you get homesick and you start to slide into depression. I mean, the honeymoon period is like 3 to 4 months, and then it happens. Like you start to feel the difference, like how different it is in reality. And it's not saying anything bad about Estonia itself. I mean, it's one place and it has its own characteristics,
Mm-hmm.
with people, with food, with culture, with all the different things. And there are extremely good aspects in Estonia as well. But the thing is that immediately you don't get to see the best aspects, or at least in the first 2 or 3 years,
Yeah.
because the real, when your investment starts to pays off, is that I think it takes like 5 to 6 years
Mm-hmm.
at least with any, because I now I've been here for almost like 8.5 years, and only now that I feel that I have those friends and people who know me who actually start to trust me in a way that, like I'm recognized,
Mm-hmm.
not just by people who see me, but by in my neighborhood, like people know me, like
Yeah.
everybody knows me just through face, and people trust me.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not a short-term game. That's what I mean. That it takes a very, very long time. So if you're here for a short time and you're not willing to make any effort, then it might be easier that foreigners start to get into a bubble
Mm-hmm.
of their own as well. And as you also mentioned, that I see that happening as well. Like, for example, if you work in a big startup company with a lot of multinational, multicultural people, then it's very easy for you to, just hang out in the afternoon with them as well, because there's so many and they're from your same culture and from the same area. But then you sort of miss the real beauty of Estonia, the Estonian people, the Estonian everything and culture that is around you, that is completely separate from that.
Mm-hmm.
So that is something that I often feel, and I think that is something that I try to do with my YouTube as well, is just to show that, okay, this is my life and this is my perspective and this is what I see Estonia as, and that sometimes is very different for a lot of people, and very resonates with a lot of people. So I personally want to encourage other people to make content, like talk about these things and share your own experiences as much as you can, because only then people get to know like what is the reality. And of course, you're doing the same thing as well. You're doing it much more like hands on. Actually, you're doing it much more face to face, and that's actually a really amazing thing.
I have actually
Um,
thought about like it'd be a cool podcast to have that are like, yeah, that you take like, that you ask 3, 4 people from the same nationality to come to the podcast and be like, hey, one episode would be Mexicans in Tallinn, next one like Italians in Tallinn, something like that. And yeah, that'd be really cool because you would get to know like what is their personal perspective in coming to
Yeah.
different nationalities
Yeah.
are going to have a completely different, like you would say,
Yeah.
cultural shocks. And yeah, that's something I've been thinking about. But if something wants to do that sort of a thing, take that idea, go for it. Like I think I can recommend like cool people who would love to come to the podcast. I just don't have the time. That's like the only.
Yeah. Sure, that's a great idea. I think we can definitely look into that. It might be very, very cool. But
and also the company
okay.
mentioned. Oh yeah, just one last thing. Yeah, the companies mentioned like multinational startups. I do think that we definitely wanna start offering. Get in touch and be like, hey, like we have this thing that would allow you to, like even outside work, make sure that, we just help with integrating essentially because like very often,
that's a great idea, and you should definitely pursue that. I would like to so we're near wrapping up. I'd like to ask you what now? Like, what is it? What is your plan for the next, let's 2-3 years? Like, what do you intend to do?
Yeah, I want to during the autumn, during the fall, I wanna set up the initiative so that it could potentially work here without me being here. Like
Mm-hmm.
I wanna find a marketer, a community manager, and then and who to whom I would pay to keep this thing going. And then, but before that, I definitely need to find we want to find that moderators who would be like like literally like if you want to do something like every week, and just get in touch with me and let's get it going. And like I'm sure there, in addition to you, there are 2, 3, maybe 4 other people, and we've just had a chat. Here's the Monday chat. Here's the Tuesday chat. But always someone can be there. So it's always sort of you don't always have to be there, but you would be one of the guys or one of the girls, and then that's first, and then I want to go. The thing is, I want to try it out also on a different kind of a city. Like definitely, like I've always wanted to live in a European metropolitan, which I haven't yet done. And I think that would be pretty cool to see how it goes there. That's why right now I'm doing these so-called, let's say user interviews that essentially, to see like what would be the most potential place. And the cool part is that it doesn't like it quite rarely happens that like people can tell that I'm an Estonian. Like it's sort of always so that begs the question like why only do it in Estonia? Like sure I wanted to start here because I wanted to give something back. I've always had this had this thing where I want to just want to give something back. Like that's why my mind didn't go for once that I should like go somewhere else and like start this thing. But essentially, I want to go to some new place, set it up there as well, see how it goes, and then in the meantime, we will be building our own platform. Like I mentioned, we will be solving these kind of problems. Mainly that problem that deals with are people going to be there? It's and the monetization and also like just working with venues. Like that's why we want to work with seven arguably best venues in Tallinn that we really enjoy. That are cozy, but at the same time quiet, and at the same time, just perfect for that particular meetup. And then work with collaborate on that front, and build our platform. And whoever wants to help with that, is looking for some kind of a social networking project. Maybe development, maybe you're a videographer, maybe a marketer. Definitely, get in touch. And that's right now the plan, honestly. And the cool thing is that this is the first problem that I have had that I've tried to solve that I feel that I could be solving for the rest of my life. Like, very often, like you get some idea, and a year or 2 years later, it's just like you move on and you feel nothing, and you sort of like you're not motivated anymore. But this one, I do believe that this one will stick with me, potentially for the rest of my life. And because, yeah, I see a timeless universal problem. That's
Yeah. That's very, very good to see that you are motivated enough that you want to explore this and help other people who are in the same place and who can learn from your experiences so that they can become the creators of communities as you have done in here in Estonia. So final question for you, as this is what I usually ask
bring it.
some of my Estonian guests, is that what does being an Estonian mean to you? Like, who is an Estonian for you?
I would say Estonian. Mm, it's a heavy one. Interesting. I think Estonian is someone who just. I think we are someone who really like appreciates our country because but also it's like we are right in between Western and Eastern world. So, and having only now, gained our freedom, we don't yet have an identity in a way. So many so many nationalities are rooted in their history. Like you see, the main example would be the UK, who is very much rooted in tradition. And that's been the reason why we are so good in innovating and coming up with new concepts like, e-residency and so forth. But I think, yeah, that's an Estonian. I think an Estonian is just someone who is like super ambitious, super just, yeah. Like I don't even know like if it's a good or bad connotation, but to me it's definitely good. And I think to the rest of the world, it is definitely good sort of a connotation because like you can come to us with a concept like, hey, you want to try this thing out fast, and we just might find a way to make it work. Like this is why we are very light on our feet, because there aren't many of us, and we can move fast. And that's why I hope that the rest of the world will recognize that and see the certain ambitiousness. And yeah, I think that's an Estonian, honestly.
So in a way, an Estonian is a person who is somebody who is resourceful and ambitious. So somebody who is who gets things done with limited resources.
Yeah. Because,
and gets. Yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah, that's very interesting. That's really, really good to hear. And personally, I feel that, I mean, this is just my opinion, but I think like every national identity should have a value attached to it as well. Like, for example, every American that you ask, they always say freedom, and that they have a very emphasis on freedom. That's what they want. And maybe Estonia can also like highlight this value that you mentioned as well, because I see myself as well, like this resourcefulness and ambitiousness, like to get things done with the smallest resources that we have. The good thing about having a value is that you are then not bound to any specific language or ethnicity or all these things, because then you can attract people who are like you in terms of value. Like, do you know how to make things happen with the smallest resources possible? And that person could be from anywhere, and that they can come here and then they can feel at home because the value is shared, not the external like things of how they are. But that's just my opinion as well. But okay.
We do very much have this thing that I've been telling myself, and when I had a dilemma, like, okay, should I stay abroad for good or come to Estonia, after the pandemic ended, I kept looking for this thing, how I could be neutral. And therefore, like, if someone were to ask me that, how to integrate in Estonia, like, it might sound a little bit weird or, I don't know, edgy or whatever, then, but I would still say that, make yourself useful in a way. It's sort of, just, this is something today Estonians really appreciate. And also just, intelligent conversations. That's something that, even if, like you said yourself, like, you gotta, like, really have a proper party with Estonians in order to get invited into the group and all that, which, I do agree with. There's also this thing where, even if you are pretty, pretty jovial at a party, everyone still appreciates a really great conversation that goes deep, and but also like a useful conversation. Like we don't like to waste time in a way.
Yeah.
We're like, once it gets, sort of self gratifying, or somewhat, it goes nowhere. Then at some point people might be checking out, and out of that conversation. And yeah, I think that's an Estonian, and thank God, I just wish that we will always have something to offer to the world, that we can make ourselves useful to the world.
Hmm.
So far, we are doing a great job. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree there.
Yeah.
Estonia has done a great job overall, and it is a role model in a lot of different aspects to the world as well. But on that note,
Just one final.
sorry.
Can I ask one final question as well?
Sure.
You mentioned that the juxtaposition between marketing and Estonia in reality. What would you say is like the biggest one? Would you say, like, yeah, because me personally, like, I don't watch that much marketing, on Estonia. Like, I'm already aware, so I'm not like the target market. But yeah, what is like the biggest difference between the two?
I think people need to understand that they will have to work on their mental health. Like, it's not a question of it's not a question of whether how you were before. You will have to work on that. Like, either you will have to get a hobby of taking care of your health, maybe gym, sauna. I mean, it's a part of culture, but coming to Estonia, you absolutely understand why it's part of the culture, because it really, really generates the same feelings and within you that are related to that. Actually having, like coping up with weather and sun and the lack of sun. So I think this is very important. Like, and social aspect is a huge part of that. So all of these things severely link to your mental health, like social aspect, your physical health, and all of these will suffer a big shock when you come to Estonia for a longer time, like if you're moving here. So it is really important that you work on your physical health. Very importantly, you work, and by this link, you get, I mean, physical and mental are very, very closely linked, right? So you work on that, both of them together. It's very, very important. And you also work on your socialization skills, because you cannot take it for granted. You have to become social. You have to become extroverted. You have to take initiative. Even if you were like an extroverted person, or like, no matter where you were, you have to become twice as good as you were outside to become. So, as I said, that Estonia has a lot to offer, that it's done great things. There's a lot of good things, but it needs adaptability. And this adaptability requires that you need to work on your physical health, your mental health, and your socialization skills. Take them as projects. Otherwise, you will suffer, and it will be very bad. So work on these things. Don't take them for granted. You come with like a tank full when you come here, but if you don't work on them, it will be depleted, and it will be depleted by a year. So, and then you'll hit the rock bottom. And I've seen many people do that. So work on that. I talk about it a lot on my channel as well, but actively start to work on that. And it's the best thing, because once you're able to do that, then you can live anywhere. Then you have like the superpower within you that you can take care of yourself.
Yeah, that's like, honestly, being free means, in my opinion, that you can go anywhere, and that you have the courage to go anywhere, and you have that you can work it out, and then that you can integrate yourself. And yeah, that's kind of what we want to offer as well. That ideally, I would like this thing to be, freaking over Europe, and maybe, further. And
yeah,
that would be great to just like feel that thing, that, oh, I'm not afraid to go to this place, which might be like completely different to Estonia.
Yeah,
I will be fine. and
Yeah.
we're living at the best time, literally. Like we
Yeah.
work anywhere almost. You can, and every year it becomes easier to work anywhere you want. And now the aspect that needs to be solved is that social aspect, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You're no longer afraid that, oh, am I gonna integrate there? And that's
Yeah.
why a lot of people, like, when they go and become nomads, do that with their partner, do it with a girlfriend, because like you don't that removes that fear. But it would be cool if you could do it on your own as well. And
Yeah. Yeah.
I do believe once you like set your mind free in that sense, then your life could be so much better. Because spending time on Netflix and Reddit and YouTube, it's, even though it's nice and could be informative, there's a high chance that in the end, a lot of people might regret doing it. Might regret actually, like, imagine you being in the end of your life, being like, oh my god, I spent 3 hours a day on that thing, and that's like, so I could have done so many things, and that's kind of like what we need to life in a way. But, yeah.
I think the more important thing here to also recognize is the person as well, like who they are, what are their goals in their life. Because I have been that person who at a time felt like really lacking in their social aspect. Like I felt that I had no social circle, and that sort of, when I was in that stage, whenever I was watching Netflix, I had this thing in the back of my head saying, okay, you're wasting your time, you're wasting your time, you're wasting your time. But now I sort of went through that journey. So I created a social circle, I changed myself, I, took apart all these different things and sort of like conquered all my fears and did all these things. And now I'm in like back to the circle. Like, and now I can watch like Netflix, and I don't feel the lack of that I'm wasting my time, or that I need a more social circle, because I know I can do that anywhere I go, wherever I want, if there is a need for it. But you have to go through that journey once. It's very important. Like, you have to be that person that you want to be at least once. And then you can come back and be your original self, or who you are. So yeah.
And like, just keep looking. It's very often people want to like change themselves instead of changing their environment. It's what I mean by that is that you think that, oh, you're like I don't want to say stuck here, or like you're tethered to this one place, so you have to change, you have to like somehow modify yourself. But you can be your true like self, and just keep looking, go from country to country, and like find a job that maybe would allow you to do that. And also, I really liked one video that you had that talked about reinventing yourself in Estonia, and that was great, because I do believe that if you want to come here, honestly, the best time to come to Estonia, in my opinion, is after college. Like, you get your degree, you're ready to work, but you want to work in a place that doesn't have like, it's not like too expensive, especially when it comes to IT, it's not like too expensive, but at the same time, it's this nice quiet place where you get to hone your skills until you maybe go and work in a place in your, let's say, 30s that is like way more expensive, like some kind of quality. Because exactly, you can reinvent yourself here, and I think that is a really good point. One of your videos, 100%. Yeah.
All right, but that was actually quite good. We have nearly 1.5 hours, but thank you, everybody. Again, thank you, Markus. It was great talking to you. I hope we get to have a meetup in person as well whenever you're back in Tallinn, and if I'm there as well, then it would be great to come to one of your meetups and hang out together. Absolutely. And everybody, thank you for watching. If you have any questions and you want to get in touch with Markus, then I will put his link in the bio. You can reach out to him. And if you have any more comments or suggestions or anything, you can reach out to me personally on the links that I have shared down below. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Take care, and bye-bye.
Thank you, Manan.